Welcome to SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. I'm your host, Susie St. Angelo, and thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk to Jenny Owens-Cripe, a passionate personal trainer, about personal training. The episode's called, Could You Use a Personal Trainer? Jenny comes to us from DePaul University. She studied counseling and psychology and found out her passion was really fitness. And she became a personal trainer about 20 years ago, became certified through the American College of Sports Medicine, became a group trainer, group exercise certified trainer through the American Council on Exercise, and is a cancer exercise specialist. So I think you'll find this conversation really fascinating and enjoyable to watch. This podcast is for you if you know you want to change something. Maybe it's your career, your health, or something else, and you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to start. You're not sure if you're at the right stage or age to begin. Or maybe you're caught in analysis paralysis. I know I was that person. I see you, and I can help you with that. You'll get lots of little tips if you just tune in to my podcast. You might get a nugget here and there that helps you out. Now you can like, follow, and subscribe to my podcast. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Apple, and Amazon podcasts. So just remember, SOS for your life, emergency wisdom for everyday life. So now let's get into today's episode and meet my guest, Jenny OC. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Susie.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, it's a Friday. We're recording this on a Friday, so it's great. We're heading into the weekend, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. I've been looking forward to our conversation since you agreed to be my guest. So I'm eager to share you with the audience and get to have them get to know you better and me get to know you better as well. So I'm going to start off by just, talking a little bit about, your passion for fitness and how you got into being a personal trainer.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
Good. So tell me about yourself.
Well, let's see. The brief version, I actually have a master's in counseling. And I started my career, if you will, as a counselor. And things, came and went. And I started teaching a class here or there just for fun. And eventually was able to take that into a career because the counseling thing just was not going the way I thought it would go. And I thought, why don't I just see what happens? So I got my certification in personal training. And like I said, I'd already been teaching classes and stuff. So this just kind of was my opportunity to break away from counseling and move more into the avenue of fitness. And that was close to 20 years ago, I would say. So it's been a while now.
Sure has. So did you have any kind of medical issue that said, hey, I want to do this? Or were you always interested in fitness? I mean, growing up?
Well, so growing up, I was a gymnast. Actually, I had open heart surgery at 17 months old. And yeah, I had tetralogy of Fallot. So I was born with a hole in my heart and some messed up and clogged valves that they had to repair. And my little brag is at the time, I was the youngest baby to survive the surgery. So yay, go me. But because, thank you. But because of that, I couldn't do endurance sports. So I did gymnastics. So I've kind of just always been active. I played tennis. When we moved to Ireland, I had been doing cheerleading before we moved. So I just continued tennis and, pretty much just, we had a trampoline and doing whatever. And then in college, I cheered again and started playing badminton and tennis and volleyball. And I don't know, I've just kind of always kept active. And so when I graduated college and had no gym, I just found some place to work out. And that was sort of what I guess led me there. And I was doing kickboxing, which the why was like, hey, we need a kickboxing instructor. And I'd been trained through the Taekwondo studio. So that was my foot in the door. Yep.
And so what do you do now? What's your fitness like now? What motivates you?
Well, I'm kind of at a crossroads right now because I've been doing triathlons for the last several years and I love them. But my favorite triathlon has been canceled and I don't know that it'll be coming back. And so I'm thinking I'll probably still do some small ones here just for funsies, that kind of thing. But I've recently started playing water polo. So I'm diving into a new sport.
Wow, that looks hard. Water polo looks like a real endurance, physical exercise.
Yes, it's fairly brutal, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, you are brave. So what is it about a triathlon you like doing?
Well, I love the swim and I love the run. And I just kind of, I always say, like, I just suffer through the bike to be able to run. But for me, what I really loved the first time I did it, it was just to see, can I do this? And then when I did, I was like, well, that was not as bad as I thought. And everyone was so nice. And I met this girl who was training to be a triathlon coach. And so we kind of got to be Facebook friends and I'd see her at other races and it's not a big community. So you end up seeing a lot of the same people. And I end up they usually rack you based on your swim speed. And so I'm a fairly decent swimmer and a terrible cyclist. So I'll be up with all of these, mostly men usually, where I'm racked. And I've gotten to know a lot of them. And again, see them at races year after year. And it's like, hey, how's your year been? So the community is really fun. And that's really what draws me back to it. Because otherwise I would give up because I don't like the bike.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a longtime runner from high school, and he's in his 70s now, and he always says that he wins his age group, but he said maybe there's only two in his age group. So, but, uh, I mean,
Does he do triathlons or does he just run?
he has done triathlons. He hasn't done one, I think, recently, but he does keep a record. He told me he keeps a record of his runs, and he has since going back to high school. He was a former colleague of mine in another life. So I was really surprised that someone like that he's a disciplined person, but he keeps those records because the time is so important to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not quite to that level, but I know a lot of people that really follow it detail to detail. And it's fascinating how they've changed over the years.
Yeah, it really is. So, I understand through reading your bio that you also teach group classes and you're a personal trainer and you work with a variety of people. And so, tell me about, first, tell me about the group classes. And I also noticed that you also are a cancer exercise specialist. And so I'm curious about what that is and what that looks like. So,
Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned before, I started with teaching kickboxing classes. But over the years, I've taught strength and endurance and cardio classes. I developed a walk to run strength class where the whole goal is like a 9 or 10 week class and you run a 5K at the end of it. Right now, I do teach a couple of land classes. I teach a stretch class and I teach a total body conditioning class. But my specialty is kind of transformed into water fitness classes. So I have a big variety. I'll teach everything from a strength aqua class to a boot camp class. And again, I've had Tabata classes. Right now I'm teaching a HIIT class. What is my fourth class? I don't remember what the fourth one is, but whatever it is, aqua, I probably have taught it. So that's become a big passion of mine is water fitness and just how much you can gain from being in the water and not having a lot of equipment, but having that water resistance.
yeah, I did that when I was living back in Michigan. I started doing water classes and I really enjoyed them. That first step in the pool is a doozy sometimes, but afterwards it was a great program. I was glad to do that. So, do you get in the pool with your students?
I do not. No, I teach solely from the deck. Because I'm not very tall. I like everyone to be able to see and hear what I'm doing. And, so I'm up there on the deck back and forth, yelling at everybody and keeping them motivated.
There you go. There you go. So tell me about the individual sessions. I know, full disclosure, you're my new personal trainer, and I'm excited to work with you. But tell me about some of those experiences, and do you see a wide variety of ages and levels?
I do. I have a huge variety, especially right now. I was preparing for this. I was looking at my client load and I was like, there really is. For a while, I was the water fitness specialist, and anybody who wanted to train in the water came to me. I actually, at the moment, have no clients that I'm training in the water. For a while, about half of my client load we train in the water. But right now, I've got everything from, I'd say, probably 30s is my youngest client, and a lot of them are working to find their passion in fitness again, or lose weight, or just stay strong. And then I've got a lot of people in their 60s who are looking to, hey, I feel like if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. So I want to find a routine, keep up with something I can do. I've also trained triathletes for triathlons, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all over the board where I've got, and kind of, you had mentioned before, the cancer exercise specialist. I have a couple of clients too that have been working through cancer as well. And that's kind of, it's been helpful for me to have that certification to help them as well. So I'm literally everywhere, all over the board.
You are, and I'm really glad to know that there is such a thing as a cancer specialist. I always wondered if, I have not had cancer, but I always wondered if I did get cancer, how I would maintain, an exercise program, and if I could, and what that would look like, And I know a couple people who are going through cancer treatments right now, so I think that's really important because I think, if that's something that we've enjoyed doing, I would think that that would be enjoyable to continue doing through a difficult process.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of people who have enjoyed fitness, when they are going through cancer treatment, they're very lethargic. You're dealing with a lot of just fatigue, and it becomes more frustrating because they want to be able to do what they were doing, and you have to back off and you have to honor your body and understand what I'm doing now is going to make sure that when treatment's done, I can jump back where I was, but that's not where I am now. So it can be frustrating at the same time. But I have to thank American College of Sports Medicine, because they're top of the line as far as making exercise as medicine, which is another. I don't hold that certification, but that's a huge one that they've developed over the years, and that what my certification falls under the exercise as medicine kind of specialty or whatever. But they're really trying to hone in on how good it is to keep moving, even when you feel like duty, even when you don't want to. And even when you're frustrated that you can't do what you could do before, you still need to exercise. You still need to move. And so that's kind of the whole basis behind the specialty.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so glad to know that that exists and that you offer that. And I hope that if I do get that, that you'll be around to help me go through that. So,
Absolutely.
my mom had cancer. Both my parents did, but they weren't physically active, and I think that's what motivates me to be and stay active. Uh,
Hmm.
so that wouldn't have been around probably when they were ill, but I'm so glad to know that exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was so excited to have you as a guest for a number of reasons, and one of them is about strength training. We've talked about it prior to this conversation, and when I talk to people who say they should, but they don't want to get bulky, and they poo poo it. I want to talk to you about that because are you still getting that kind of comment? Or are you getting other comments? And what can you say to that comment when people throw that as an objection?
Yeah. That's interesting, because I actually have not heard that in a long time. And instead, and maybe it's the population I work with, but a lot of what I hear now is, oh, I know I need to strength train because as we age, we lose muscle and I need to build muscle and I don't know where to start. That's the big comment that I'm hearing a lot. But I think the bulking up thing, I think that maybe I don't, like I said, I just haven't heard that in so long. And it was, 15, 10 years ago or so. That was the last time somebody was like, oh, I don't strength train because I don't want to bulk up. And then instantly, like I remember this conversation and their friend was like, well, that doesn't happen. You have to take steroids for that to happen. So I thought,
Are you a bodybuilder? Are you trying to be a bodybuilder? I think that's where people have that
yeah,
theory or that idea.
yeah, but strength training takes on a lot of different looks, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. You've got your bodybuilders who are there lifting as heavy as they possibly can, 3 reps max, and they're done. And then you've got, your general strength training, which can go in one of two ways. It can be, want to build muscle. So you're going to lift a little heavier, or you just want to maintain endurance. So you're going to lift more reps, but a little bit lighter weight. And both of those are beneficial to everybody. Just depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, it's definitely, yeah, the stereotype of like bulking up and bodybuilding is not, I don't hear it as much in the general population anymore.
I got to know someone who lost 100 pounds, and this person said that he talked to other women about, encouraging them to get in the gym, and that's what he was hearing too. This was about a year and a half ago. So I'm glad to know that that's not a current a comment. I will say this, I kind of loosely did strength training. I had a personal trainer like 20 years ago. And as I was telling you, there were exercises I couldn't do then that I can do now. And now you're encouraging me to do heavier lifting, which is awesome. But I know how I feel after workout. I feel good. I feel confident. I usually sleep better. It's toning my body. And so when my doctor said, and my health coach both said, I think you need to start incorporating strength training into your routine, back off the cardio, uh, but do a lot more strength training, yoga, walking, things that calm my nervous system too. I took it on as a challenge, and now I love it. I mean, I would be a mess if I didn't do some form of strength training, 2 to 3 times a week. So when I got sick recently, I was, it was a real bummer because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to start all over. All the progress I've made, but it's not that way. But it felt that way the first few lifts. You're going, oh, what was I thinking? But
Yeah, I want to say and I could get this wrong because I get it backwards, but 2 weeks without, you either start noticing a difference in strength or a difference in cardio, and the other one is 3 weeks out. And I never remember which is which, but it doesn't take long to not train for a while to feel the effects of that. But on the flip side, it also doesn't take long to get it back again either. So, especially if it's been a routine you've been doing.
Well, so what's nice about, what you offer is, you do an assessment to see where I am and where anyone is in their abilities, and then you tailor make a plan to me, to the client. So, I mean, that's really important for people to know that they're not going to be doing the same things that everybody's doing, because they are so different, and every person has their own DNA, which, they may not be able to handle a lot at first. So I think that's really fun and kind of creative.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, that is the fun part of personal training versus taking a group class. Yeah. I mean, when you come in my group class, I'll say get medium weights or get heavy weights, and it's on everybody to figure out, okay, what's heavy for me. But personal training, you're like, you probably experienced this already of like, are you sure I can do that heavy? Yes, you can. Let's try it.
Yeah, that's right. I do notice that. Are you seeing any trends in the fitness industry right now? Anything that is new?
The biggest trend that I have seen lately is the medications for weight loss. and not specifically just for weight loss. But that's, everybody knows them as, oh, it's the weight loss drug. But I actually have two different clients on these medications for two different reasons. And one of them was for diabetes prevention, so essentially weight loss. And the other one is more for arthritis. And they have, which, yes, it threw me for a loop because I was like, what? And it's been amazing. It is a side effect of these medications that it helps with rheumatoid arthritis. And it really does. I mean, inflammation just drops. So movement feels better. You're not achy all the time. And it's amazing. But it kind of makes sense because some of the weight loss comes from inflammation, which is making your body swell, which is adding weight. But going along with that, the biggest research has shown that when you're on those medications, they're not sure yet if it's muscle mass you're losing or fatty mass. So the number one thing is to bump up your strength training if you're on those medications. And that's what not just those two clients, but I think that overall message is what people are coming in with. I need to strength train now. I do this for cardio. I do that for cardio, but I need to know what to strength train because I've heard how good it is for me. So that's kind of the big trend that I'm seeing right now.
Interesting. I would never have guessed that. However, I was doing Facebook posts on wellness trends for 2025 throughout the month of December. And one of them were on these weight loss drugs, and there more foods are going to be tailored to people who are taking those weight loss drugs. So, like portion size, and which I kind of rolled my eyes about because I'm like, that's, you've got your lean cuisines and all those frozen foods. Are we going to see a whole nother section in the freezer aisle, with fewer OPN, type of thing? But I just sort of rolled my eyes about that. So whatever, it's, neither here nor there. But well, that's an interesting trend that you kind of threw me for a loop. I did not anticipate you saying that. So tell me about some success stories you've had with clients.
I think kind of, I was thinking about this before, and one of my favorite, I don't want to go into too many details so she's not listening and saying, hey, she's talking about me, but is one of my clients who has been taking the weight loss medication. And I trained her for, I'm trying to think, I want to say 2 years before. And she just through really watching more what she ate and working out with me twice a week, she lost a pretty significant amount of weight. And then different things in her life happened and she had to step away from training with me. And before that, she had started kind of getting a little more lax, drinking a little bit more with socially, going out with friends more and just having a couple margaritas like 3 or 4 times a week. And so then when she dropped off from me, we stayed in touch and she gained not all of the weight back. In fact, she thought she gained a whole lot more weight back, but I was like, you really didn't gain that much back. And then when she came back to me, she said that her family had pushed her. She'd gone on the medication and she said, yeah, my family said I need to come back and train with you because they're worried about just being on this medication. And I had just learned and studied about that medication and, learned the lean muscle mass loss. Is that what they're losing kind of research out there? And I said, yeah, this is the perfect time. So she's back on track and has again lost a pretty good amount of weight. She's doing it perfectly. She's not losing any more than 1 or 2 pounds a week. And she's hit a couple of plateaus. But it's interesting because those will happen when she's like, oh, I went on vacation and I didn't take my medication for 2 weeks, or, just different things. Like she'd make a change and she'd say, but I was glad I didn't, she didn't gain weight when she stopped taking the medication, but she didn't lose weight either. So it was just sort of a plateau right there. But we can see why. It didn't work out, didn't take the medication, but held steady. So it's been a real positive experience, both for her and myself, to see, hey, this all works together.
That's interesting you should say this because one of my questions was going to be, how do you handle setbacks and plateaus with your clients? And, both of us are really in the accountability business. We want to be accountable to our clients because they're hiring us to help them either achieve some goal or a series of goals or something important in their lives, and so I mean, I'm just curious what you think about that.
Well, so when I first started training, one of the things I wanted to put kind of on my bio to like encourage people was, have you hit a plateau? Come see me. And then I thought, well, that's kind of like pigeonholing me there. But the biggest thing when you've hit a plateau is you just make a change. And whether that's, okay, let's up the cardio for a few weeks and see what happens, or, okay, let's change what you're eating. Let's focus more on that aspect, or even, just being sedentary. How sedentary are you during the day? Can you take 15-minute breaks during the day to get up and move? That's going to benefit what we're doing. But it's finding some change that you have to make to push past that plateau.
Mm-hmm. You have to try something else because what you're doing now is not working. Right. Very good. Do you have any favorite exercises that you always, or your go-tos that you like, yeah, I got to do this for every client or most of my clients?
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of body weight training, which is still strength training, even though you're not using heavy, heavy weights. And so I personally love push-ups. They're like my favorite thing in the world.
Oh boy. That's coming for me in the next day or two.
But what I love about them is anyone can do push-ups. You might have to modify. You might start with push-ups with your hands on a counter. You might start with, I've got a couple of pieces of equipment that I can use that have different levels, and work your way down. You might be on the ground on your knees, or you might be straight up doing regular push-ups on the ground on your toes, and you can do 2. Or maybe you are one of those clients that comes in, you're like, no, I got this. And you're like whipping off 25 push-ups. So I can still make those push-ups even more fun, even if you're really good at push-ups. And I just love it because if you think about the plank position, you're targeting every single muscle in your body at once. And then when you start to move your arms, you have to hold that position through the movement. So it's not like it's just a static hold. It's a moving static hold, if that makes any sense. So I love push-ups. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. I would not have guessed that, but is there any other extra go-tos that you use?
Not really. Probably for warm up, I like to just do squats and walking lunges and just things to get those big muscles moving to get your body warmed up before we do anything else super heavy. But yeah, otherwise it's just pretty much tailored to client by client.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your theory on drinking water or energy drinks or drinks with electrolytes during a workout?
Water is my go-to. And I do not have, I'm not certified nutritionist or registered dietitian or anything like that. So I stay away from giving advice about anything outside of your very basics as far as calorie intake. Um, Personally, I can't drink any of those because I just get an upset stomach. So every time you finish a race, they always have the Gatorades and the Powerades. And I've tried. I'll dilute it with water and still like about half an hour, 45 minutes later, I'm like, man, I really don't feel good. And if I just chug a bunch of water, I'm good. So water is your number one friend.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm not putting you on the spot. We've had this conversation before, but uh, food, and I know that that's not your total wheelhouse, but can you give people an idea of should you eat before you train, and if so, like a sample, something they should eat, and then after they train, a little sample of what they should eat as well?
Sure. I'll keep it super general. Yes, you should eat before you work out. You never should just wake up and, especially if you're going to strength train, hit a hard or endurance. You really just shouldn't go out because you're just going to deplete any energy that your body has at all and just send your body into a crash. So you need to eat something. As far as what you should eat, again, no dietary education on this other than the basics. So I'll just tell people, eat something that you know is going to sit well in your stomach. You don't want to eat like a huge giant meal and then go try to run a 5K, but you need something in there. For me, my usual bowl of cereal, glass of milk, and half a banana. That does it for me. I'm good to go. And then I always have animal crackers or something to snack on. If I were to do a triathlon, I can grab a couple carrot sticks or animal crackers halfway through. Typically, I don't even need that till I'm done. But then when you're done working out, research definitely shows protein is the go-to afterwards. And it can be whatever your favorite protein is. And it should be really within the hour of working out. So a lot of times when we finish a big, strong workout, we're not hungry and we just want to chug water and be like, that's good. So you've got an hour. I'm not saying go back and eat your protein bar right then, give yourself some time. And within that hour, maybe it's a spoonful of peanut butter. Maybe it's yogurt, Greek yogurt. Maybe you go out for chicken sandwich or something. But yeah, protein would be your post-workout
when I
food.
was really just starting in and I was taking everything that my health coach was telling me literally and figuratively, I just was like, I'd come home after my workout and I wouldn't want to dilly-dally. I'd want to eat right when I got home because I want to get that protein right in me right away. They're like, oh, you got a little time, not a lot, but you got a little time to do that.
Yeah.
No, anyway, yeah, it's interesting. But I always enjoy talking to other people and finding out what their go-to sources are for protein and, things that they enjoy. Because I'm like, oh, I need to try that. I always get kind of bored sometimes with the things that I'm eating for my strength training and things like that. So I'm always curious what other people are doing. But
yeah. Well, I'm vegetarian, so my protein is, yeah. So my proteins can be a little different. I have peanut butter and jelly every day for lunch, literally every day. And there will be times, especially in the summer. Summer is my season with the triathlon. Like this time of year, I don't probably eat as much. I mean, I know I don't eat as much normal, but at night, I'll just be sitting around going, man, I need something. So a spoonful of peanut butter will do the trick. I do love Greek yogurt. I'll put that in smoothies as well. Fridays, I have hot yoga and I come home from hot yoga and I make myself a smoothie, always with Greek yogurt. Sometimes peanut butter powder, but that's more for flavor than it is for extra protein because I'm not really counting my protein. Like I'm just, I'm not like measuring anything out. Just this is what I need. And then I just eat a lot of beans and quinoa has some great protein in it. But overall, a lot of vegetables have some hidden protein too. So I know I've had these discussions with my family, like you don't eat enough protein, but I know I can feel when I'm lacking it. And that's where my spoonful of peanut butter comes in, or that's where my run to Taco Bell for their bean burrito comes in or something.
yeah, let's just say beans and I've heard that mushrooms have protein and
Mm-hmm.
peas and
Broccoli has a surprising amount of protein.
I
Yep.
saw that too. So that's good to know. Glad to know that there are some good options for people who are vegetarian who train. So that's really interesting. I was just thinking about something and it escaped me about food, but I'll come back to it. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about today?
I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I think like the big overall thing would be, I just hope that your listeners realize that like working out is fun. It should be fun and shouldn't be this drag on your day. Like I definitely know I have clients that try to cancel on me and they're hilarious. I love them. And at the same time, they'll turn around and they'll say, oh, this would be a good success story. Here we go. One client, she truly does try to cancel almost every week, but then half the time she doesn't tell me till I get there. And she goes, I was going to text you and say I had a migraine, but then I was like, I'd be lying. So never mind. But her and her husband recently went on a trip and they had to sprint through an airport to make their connection. And they sat down on the plane. I trained both of them and they said, we would not have been able to do this without Jenny. And so even though you don't always want to do this, know that it's benefiting you in all kinds of ways that you would never expect.
So last summer I was doing, and that's a great story, and hats off to you that it showed up on a plane. You know, last year I was doing some work one day at a nonprofit. They needed help planting bulbs and greenery and shoveling mulch and hauling mulch. And it was like a kids farm where kids come and they can learn about the farm and how food grows and see it firsthand. So I had a wheelbarrow, and I remember years ago having a wheelbarrow, and I was not that strong, but I noticed that my core and my arms and everything had gotten so much stronger through my strength training. It's just that one little example that just gave me confidence. And I think that's part of strength training too. It really gives you confidence to do some daily things that you look and go, I couldn't do that or do that very well years ago. And so I think if you can put it in terms that are practical instead of saying, well, hey, now I can do 35 pounds. Well, now I can get up off the ground and or I can play with my grandkids and get up off the ground, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a trend several years ago of functional fitness. And it's the trends in fitness are funny to me because functional fitness just meant that you could live your life and function the way you should and not have to worry about getting hurt or something. And then it became now it's mobility training, but we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about activities of daily living and just making your life pleasurable and not a struggle.
Well, something else I noticed about training was I could certainly get a good heart rate and a good sweat going doing my strength training. Um, that would be equal to a cardiovascular exercise, and that shocked me a little bit. But I also liked the community. I was getting up, and I still do. I get up in the morning, and I prefer to come in the morning and work out. There's just something about getting in and getting it done first thing in the morning and just doing it. And you start to see familiar faces. And you kind of nod. You might not talk to the person because we're all kind of in our little zones. And I tend to get in my zone. But I was at a holiday party last Christmas, and I was doing something in someone's kitchen, and the person walked in and said they knew me. And we figured out it was from 2 years ago at another gym that we were the 6 to 7 a.m. people working out in the same area. We'd never say hello to one another, but that's how we knew one another and connected. It was a really lovely conversation, but um, I could tell that person was disciplined and I was disciplined, and that's another way to build community.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great story. I haven't heard so much of that, but you hear about that in classes all the time. Or somebody's not in class for a few weeks and their friend who they don't see anywhere except outside of class will come up, hey, have you seen so and so? They haven't been here in a few weeks. And a lot of times they've told me if they're traveling. So I'll be like, oh yeah, they're on vacation. But it's kind of nice knowing you've got someone checking in on you there, even if all you do is see them at the gym.
Absolutely, and that was true for yoga too for a long time because I like you had done hot yoga until the pandemic, and but even now, getting back into it is nice to see those familiar faces and to have that commonality. That we're all doing this together, and you have something in common with someone. So I really love it, and I hope I never give up that love of, challenging my body and, having fun at the gym and there's a creative part about it too, because you can rotate it around uh, and if I get burnt out, you can always give me a new plan.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's always new things to try.
Kick my butt. Yeah. So Jenny, how can people get a hold of you if they want to chat a little bit further about what you do?
Sure. Yeah. I'm on Instagram. I am at the Jenny OC, and that's JENNYOC, letter O, letter C. And also, if they just want to check me out and kind of get a little bit more information about me, I have a YouTube channel as well, which is a little bit longer. It's youtube.com/Jenny Owens-Cripe. So just my full name. I've got all kinds of classes. I started that kind of during the pandemic when people were home and had nothing else to do. And so I taught a few classes and then I recorded them live and posted them. And then it just sort of grew from there. So it's pretty much any kind of workout you'd want to see, whether it's just 5 minutes or a 20-minute HIIT class or, okay, I've got no equipment here. What can I do for strength training? All over the board on my YouTube channel. So, but yeah, so you check that out or slide into my DMs on Insta and yeah, definitely.
I think that's great. And as you told me, as you gave me my plan, you give me a plan based on how it looks to do the exercise instead of the sometimes official name. Because what I would do if you gave me the official name, I'd go out to YouTube or I'd go to Google and go, okay, I don't remember what this exercise is. So I'm glad you have that available too for people to check out. So I've enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for coming on SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. And I normally would say to people who I have as guests, I hope our paths cross again, but I know our paths are going to cross again as soon as
Absolutely.
next week.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on. This has been a lot of fun and hopefully it's helpful to your listeners and they take something away. And maybe if they're worried about strength training, they can just say, you know what, just give it a try and jump in the gym and see what happens.
Yeah. I love that. And I'd love to have you come back and we could hit another topic or we could come back and just expand on this one. But it's been a lot of fun and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. I look forward to it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, friends, sadly, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for tuning in to SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. I'm so excited that Jenny could come and be my guest today on the episode called Could You Use a Personal Trainer? We talked a lot about who personal training is for. She gets a variety of people at different levels in their life and age, and she comes about it with such passion and enthusiasm, and Taylor makes programs suitable to everybody. And she wants it to be fun. She makes it fun. And so I hope you'll come back and join us for another episode. I'd love to have Jenny come back. So on a sidebar, if you have any questions or a special question for me, I'd be happy to answer on one of my episodes. If you'd like to be added to my email newsletter, I'd be happy to add you. Just send me an email. Remember, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you're interested in finding out more about coaching or breathwork sessions, just send me an email. And until next time, take care and I'll see you soon.